Good evening, everybody, and a very warm welcome to One Hub Racing Season 23, round number 2. And what a great race we had in the P1 tier last week around Qatar. It was the very first time that the drivers faced this circuit, and I really enjoyed it. And guess what? We get to do it all over again at the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix at Imola. This week, it's slightly different. It's going to be a sprint race format where it starts with short qualifying, then a sprint race, and then a 35% full race distance with mandatory two-stop. If you want to find out how it all works, then we'll go into more detail a little bit later on. First of all, let's have a relook at what happened at the Qatar Grand Prix last week with this tier. And we are underway, and Posh Evans gets a really good start off the line, but J. Cole has a good getaway in towards turn number 1. We've got one of the McLarens trying to get through around the outside in towards the second corner, but J. Cole still leads. Oh, we got some contact in the background. Few spinners as well as the Aston Martin and the Ferrari get collected there, unfortunately. So they've had some issues with J. Cole leading away, Posh Evans second, Nick in third, Matt's just about holding on in fourth with Brendan in fifth. But great start from our pole sitter. This is definitely what he needed.
Yeah, 100%. That's really how you just start the race. It's what you need going into turn 1 here at Qatar. If you're leading, you've got the whole middle sector and pretty much the final sector to pull away. Faust has been forced wide. He's had to drop quite a few places there in the McLaren. I think he's actually got a bit of front wing damage, letting all these cars go. I mean, you can see the strategy differences as well. A lot of drivers on the mediums, one car on the hards, and that's Max, and then you got Axe, Lukey, and Colin all on the hards. So Faust, I think, does have a bit of front wing damage. Yes, missing front left end plate, and that has really affected his race. The two-stop strategy, I mean, he's getting one pit stop out the way already, but I don't think he will be back in this one with how long the stop will be. Posh Evans now about half a second behind J. Cole. Will he be able to get close enough heading down the straight? I will not think so heading into turn 1. He's just going to have to wait for DRS as Unarmed gets past Casper there for P8.
As we were talking about track limits earlier, we have our first 3-second time penalty from Ratey, but we got a battle for the lead. Here comes Posh Evans as he goes for the run in towards turn number 1. Easy does it without even DRS, and he gets the fastest lap to boot as well. Beautiful stuff. He's in the lead in that Alfa Romeo. The top two are just running away with it at the moment. Nick's doing a great job in third, but he's kind of like the trolley train as he's been chased down by Matt, Brendan and Nicolo for third, fourth, fifth and sixth place. It's some great stuff so far. We can't keep up as we can see Colin going around the outside of Casper then, heading in towards turn 5. Can he hold his line through there? I think we could see Casper trying to get the switch back there as he's under pressure from fatality as well, but Colin just about to hold himself into P10, but he's got to make the move soon. The softs won't last long.
Nick starting to fall off of J. Cole, who's all over the back of Posh Evans in front of him. This will be a DRS move, you would think, heading down the main straight. Lap 3 of 29, of course, two-stop strategies in this league, so I mean, it's all to play for still. Strategy is going to be a massive factor in this race. Here comes J. Cole and Posh Evans, gets the move done without any question, really. Just gets it done without any worries at all, as Matt is really, really racy behind Nick, and it looks like Nick really struggling for pace here on his mediums. Matt's is hards, not doing too badly at the moment. He's got decent pace for now, but we're just going to have to wait and see if that will keep up. But with the way the medium tyres are going, they will probably fall off a lot quicker than the hards. But really nicely done there. Is actually to the inside goes Brandon, in the Williams, gets the move done nicely on Nick that time around, as J. Cole and Posh Evans are having a little bit of a scrap as they head through turn 1 and 2, but J. Cole just gets that done with actually just before turn 2, and Posh Evans has to sit behind one more time, and we'll have to wait and see if Posh Evans can fight back next time around. He probably will with the DRS, as their ERS actually is very, very similar, both around 65%.
So let's see if Posh Evans could go for another lunge. I think it's going to be a you go past, and I think Posh Evans is going to be like, No, I'm going past right now, but we'll see if J. Cole tries to fight back. It doesn't look like he fights back at the moment, so Posh Evans is in the lead. I think it's going to be a switch for quite a while yet, so it will come down to undercut versus overcut. We've seen undercut is a lot powerful around Guitar in terms of the pit lane loss time, so we'll see if that happens. Here comes, I think, round number 6 or 7 for Jacob. We got our first pitter as Nicolo has gone into the pits 3 laps earlier than I was expecting. And we're also seeing Jacob not getting close enough to Posh Evans. So I think Posh Evans has found his rhythm a little bit. But Nicolo already has come in. I'm a bit shocked by that.
Oh, I say that Nick has a huge slide. He spins round on the exit of the final corner, and Nick is going to be falling down the order now, maybe even outside the top 10 at this rate, as he now falls down to 11th, as that is actually Kanams coming into the pit lane here for Alfa Romeo. So the first Alfa Romeo to stop is the second driver, is Casper down the inside of Boompai, and I think he's got that one done, but Boompai trying to fight back into turn 2, but Casper cuts him off. And that is now 5th and 6th for Red Bull in this one, as Matt now can look forward onto Brandon.
Posh Evans, who comes in into the pit, so they didn't want a double stat, it looks like, so that promotes J. Cole to the race lead. But look at how Brendan is catching up to J. Cole at the moment. J. Cole's tyres is not good currently, which is good news for Brendan and Matt, who's trying to close in.
Brendan's gone on to the hards, J. Cole on to the medium, so let's see where they come out in relation to Posh Evans, and they've come out actually quite far behind, and Nicolo might actually go for a move here for the provisional race lead. To the inside goes the Haas, the Alfa Romeo on the outside, which turns to the inside for turn 2, and Posh Evans is just about able to hold on as they now head through turn 3, and you wouldn't expect a move going into turn 4, and yeah, Nicolo just has to sit behind. Larkin here can help out J. Cole here with a little bit of a defensive mission, Sergio Perez-esque from Abu Dhabi 2021. So Posh Evans behind Larkin, he will get a bit of a slipstream through here, but you can't make the overtake heading through the triple right-hander. It's just not possible, because heading through now the third part of the triple right-hander, Nicolo needs to use this to his advantage. Posh Evans will get DRS from this, but Larkin now can really hold him up in the final corner. You can just go super slow, and that will really, really help the likes of Nicolo and J. Cole. Saying that, J. Cole now, will he be able to make the move on the Haas in front of him? No ERS left on the Haas. He's got it flashing at the back. He is derating as now into turn 1. Posh Evans round the outside. J. Cole's got the move done. Larkin now has to sit behind Posh Evans. He might let his teammate go. Yes, he has. And that was actually some brilliant teamwork there from Larkin.
Canarmed trying to get past Brendan and Nicolo in one corner. Can he do it? Wow! He almost did it then, but Nicolo Soro trying to go to the outside and get second, well, a net P3 right now. So almost a double overtake for Canarmed. That turns to a net 4th place for Canarmed, which I have to say is still pretty good. This is a really great tier. They're all so tight. We don't know who's going to win this one as we're approaching half race distance, but wow. All of this, by the way, all this is squabbling. J. Cole has pulled 3.2 seconds clear of the rest of the field. Going towards the final corner, he's going to gain the speed he possibly can. You can see J. Cole's got better cornering speed, so that's helped him now. He's going to get the DRS. Is he going to take the lead to the right-hand side? Posh Evans covers him off a little bit, but doesn't fight too much because he knows that is going to be even more things happening towards the end of the race as Brendan gets past Nicolo and Canarmed. He's got past 2 cars. I have to say, there's some brave moves going on for some podium positions. I'm absolutely like that. Matt is in. If he doesn't go on soft, then I don't think that he's timed this absolutely right. So here he comes then. He may do a longer medium stint and then soft to the end. So that's what he's going to do. I'm guessing he doesn't trust the drop-off about the softs. He knows that there could be a late safety car. J. Cole did not able to get past Posh Evans at that, but he knows that he's going to time it well, and we'll see what he can do currently as Lukey has got the undercut on Matt. So him staying out a little bit longer has not helped him a little bit, but it has helped him keep ahead of some other drivers.
softs. He started on the softs, so he can bolt on another set of mediums.
Ooh.
Posh Evans and J. Cole now battling into turn 2. Posh Evans to the inside. J. Cole trying to fight it. He picks up a 3-second time penalty. And Posh Evans is just able to get in front. J. Cole now with the penalty. I think that was just him trying to keep his nose in it, and it did not work out. And Posh Evans now takes the lead and an effective 3-second lead over J. Cole.
So we got our first pit stops for our 2 stops. Brendan and Callum are in the pit lane, and they're probably going to go on to a final set of the medium tyres, but I won't be surprised if they go on the softs. Here comes J. Cole once again to the outside, which becomes the inside. J. Cole takes the lead. He's got to pull that 3-second gap, though, because otherwise he will lose out on the win of this race. But fair play battle to them as Posh Evans almost died up to the inside there of that corner, but couldn't quite do it.
J. Cole actually looked like he was going to carry on, but they both come into the pit lane now. Will Nicolo follow him in?
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, Colin has actually jumped Brendan, and he's done his 2 stops. He is on the hard tyre, so he will be a bit slower than the drivers who have just stopped. But if this undercut works, he could come out in a very good position here, and maybe just behind J. Cole and Posh Evans. They both go onto a set of the soft compound tyres. I think everyone's just going to go on the softs. Brendan and Kanaan now, we're going to go 3 wide into turn 1. Kanaam's down the inside, Brendan round the outside, nearly contact, and Kanaam just able to get ahead. And that is 7th place for him. He was on the softs, of course, so he will be quicker and have a bit more grip through the braking zones. But now, look at Posh Evans. He's dropped 1.2 to J. Cole on the exit of the pit lane here. So J. Cole, if he's able to keep up his early stint pace like he has done so far, he could be in a real good shout to pulling out that 3-second gap.
Here comes, I think, Brendan right in the middle of this, and Larkin trying to defend. We got Colin in there as well. Knaam has got past Brendan. What about Larkin? Larkin's going to try his best to hold up Nicolo, so J. Cole doesn't have any other deficit thus far. Posh Evans has caught up back to J. Cole now. 0.5 of a second is the gap. So at the moment, as it stands, due to J. Cole's time penalty, Posh Evans will be winning this race as Colin gets past Larkin up into a net P6. Oh no, Colin's got a penalty. Never mind.
Not push as much, but he got the fastest lap, and he's pulled to the inside. Posh Evans to the inside. J. Cole with the cut under, and he's got the move done. J. Cole manages to defend the provisional P1. Matt stays out in the lead. He needs to come in shortly for a fresh set of softs, probably, you would think. Just been looking at Posh Evans' dash on his steering wheel, and it says that he's a whole lap down on the fuel. So,
oh no! Is he on minus?
Yes, minus 0.7. No, 1.07, sorry.
That is huge. He's going to run out on lap 28. He's going to run out on lap 28. You can tell. I did say earlier on, running out of fuel could be huge. I think...
Actually, no, Brendan's down on fuel.
Oh no, Brendan's down on fuel too. That is huge. How much?
No.
How much?
It's only by a little bit, 0.11.
So he has to lift and coast. He has to lift and coast. If he lifts and coasts, but he's going to lose time on J. Cole. He's gone like 5 seconds down on J. Cole. So no matter what now, J. Cole's going to be in P2 at best. Even win this race. Nicolo gets past into 3rd. He's going to chase down for the win of this race as well. J. Cole's going to try and get the win on track. They've been fighting all race long, and they've been absolutely fantastic. And what's let J. Cole down was a time penalty, but he doesn't care at the moment. Brendan gets past Nicolo and Knaam. Oh, there was almost a bit of contact, a bit of lag spike from one of the drivers, and that's invite Matt into the mix now. I hope it's plus. Please say it's plus.
It does say minus. He's hit 0.0. Usually he's going into low fuel mode. No, he has!
He's run out of fuel!
He's into low fuel mode!
Oh no! It's not a spectator glitch. It's minus 1.29.
Oh, Posh Evans has really ruined his race there by just not listening to the fuel and saving it. But Brendan and Knaam are still in trouble here. they could run out of fuel on the way to the line next time around. We're just going to have to wait and see, as J. Cole, you would think, certainly in to win this one. Colin up into P6. Matt's here to the inside of Kanam as they head down into turn 1. He's got no battery left to fight with, though, as actually, Nicolo and Brendan have collided. They've both nearly gone round. Brendan's gone round though. Nicolo nearly dropped it as well, as that's allowed, that's dropped Brendan down to 6, as that's actually allowed Max to try and get up into P2 on track, and he's actually down a bit on fuel as well. All these drivers are starting to nearly run out of fuel here, as
round the outside goes Max.
Just be in charge. Has he got the move done? Yes, he has. Those mediums. He's played the card perfectly on those mediums, and he will get P2 in this race if he's just able to keep the car with enough fuel in it. I think Kanam just isn't going to make it to the line with enough. We're just going to have to wait and see for him.
Posh Evans 10-second time penalty. That is harsh, but we're going to ride on board with the man who has been praying his lucky stars that something will go wrong to Posh Evans, and it did. Posh Evans has run out of fuel. The driver's champion from last season starts like he means to go on.
Kanam's
wins. He wins in guitar. Matt's in second. Nicolo in third. Kanam just about makes it. No, he doesn't. Colin gets fourth.
No.
Colin gets fourth. Kanam fifth. Brendan's out the race. Lukey comes across the line in 6th place, and Nick recovers nicely to 6th. Oh, he's 6th now, because Lukey drops to a penalty. Fatality gets 8, Konzo 9th, Casper in 10th, Boom in 11th, no, Larkin in 11th. There's a lot of people dropping position. Boom's run out of fuel, I think.
Yeah, Boompire ran out of fuel to the line. Luckily, he gets the last points paying position due to penalties, so he's lucky in that aspect.
Jaco wins from pole, and if you think it was a lights to flag victory, it definitely wasn't. Matt, with the strategy, I have to say, he avoided all the carnage, slots himself into P2. Nicolo could have got the win there, but he was quite unlucky, but surely he can get the win next week. Colin, from 14th to 4th, he played the fuel strategy perfectly. I think he had 0.01 across the line, I think. And he calculated his fuel nicely, so that was great. Kanam's in 5th, and we got Nick good recovery to 6th, Luke recovery from 18th to 9th position. And what a result from J. Cole last week. It was a really good fight between himself and Posh Evans throughout that race. And it was a shame that Posh Evans ran out of fuel, but I can safely say that Posh Evans will be back with a vengeance at round number 2 tonight. When we asked J. Cole if it felt bittersweet for Posh Evans to have ran out of fuel with a few laps to go, he was like, hell no. It was a shame that he didn't put enough fuel in the first place, but sadly enough, he thinks, that's how racing goes. And people got to think about strategy, fuels, and tyres. If you fail to prepare to fail, as they always say. And we asked him about his title defense as well. He's hoping to keep this up, but there are a lot of others that will challenge him for sure. And he certainly thinks that this will be the closest P1 tier of one hub ever. Mark his words, he said. And I have to say, I agree with that. I really do agree with that. So well done to J. Cole. Will he be able to take the win at round number 2, or someone else be able to challenge him? We'll have to wait and see. Now, you saw the results at the end of the highlights. Well, there were some stewards' penalties that were took into consideration. Now, Boom got a 5-second time penalty with his incident with Larkin, and this was the reason. It was on lap 1, turn 1. Boom slightly outbrakes himself, making contact with Larkin and causing Larkin to spin, and the stewards deemed Boom to be at fault. And he also got 0.5 penalty points that will be added to his licence. There was also an incident on the last lap of the race. You did see that in the highlights between Brendan and Nicola Soro, and Soro got a 5-second time penalty for that. Soro went for a late move on Brendan, and after reviewing the footage, the consensus was that Soro should have been aware that the gap was always going to be close, and having made such a late move to the inside, the stewards therefore deem Soro at fault. And incident number 3 also involving him, but with Faust, it was a racing incident, and that happened at lap 1, turn 5. Faust made contact with the rear of Soro, causing Faust to damage his wing, and having watched the footage of both drivers, the stewards deemed this to be an unfortunate incident for Faust. So, what does that do to the overall results for round number 1 at Qatar? So J. Cole leads the championship on 20 points with ERT Max with his amazing result in P2 to be a few points behind him. We also got Nicola Sora in the top 3, and Colin Mason had a really good comeback last week to finish in 4th. Kanams in 5th spot, Nick in 6th, Lukey in 7th, Fatality in 8th, Konzo in 9th, and Casper rounds up your top 10 by picking up 3 points. Larkin with 2 points, Waitsy and Delta Hunter on 1 point as well, with some points for the fastest lap for Delta Hunter. Faust, Axelot, Carmentalis, and Brendan and Boom did not get any points, and neither did Posh Evans. Brendan, unfortunately, DNF last week on the final lap, which was a bit of a shame. Let's look what it does for the Constructors' Championship. Alpine co-lead the way on 22 points, Mercedes in 2nd on 20 points, AlphaTauri 3rd on 18 points, Haas 4th on 14 points, Alfa Romeo 5th on 10 points, Ferrari in 6th place on 7 points, McLaren in 7th on 5 points, Williams in 8th on 4 points, Red Bull in 9th on 3 points, and Aston Martin only scoring 1 point. So all constructors managing to get some points on the board last week in Qatar, which was absolutely amazing. So before we head to qualifying this evening, we would like to thank our sponsors and partners. A massive thank you to Next Level Racing by sponsoring the league by providing the following prizes. One of our champions will win a Next Level Racing FGT Elite Light Wheel Plate Edition and ES1 seats. One of our 2nd or 3rd place drivers in their Tiers Championship will win a Next Level Racing GT Elite Light Wheel Plate Edition and ERS2. Every driver will have a chance to win a Next Level Racing 2.0 wheel stand, which is very, very exciting. Also, thanks to Pure Sim Gear for sponsoring the league by providing their gloves or socks to the driver who has the most combined poles and fastest laps. Also, thanks to Aztec Sim Sports for sponsoring the league by providing a multitude of prizes, such as the driver with the shortest combined quality time wins a set of Invicta Sim Racing boots, and the winner of the ERT Going Gets Tough award wins the Aztec Sim Sports t-shirt and cap. Also, massive shout out to the Mystery Shirt Box, our newest sponsor for the season, and they're sponsoring the league by providing one of their mystery shirt boxes to the winner of 100 Racing's driver rankings for season 23. Now we move on to our partners. Thanks to our partners Vespertine, who supports our official apparel and merch, so make sure you check that out. Also to Elite Racing Team at ERT Esports on Twitter. They're partnering the ERT Going Gets Tough Award and sponsoring our league trophies. We couldn't have done a lot of this stuff without ERT. And finally to SimGrid, powered by SimGrid, run our seasons through their community and platform, and also we put the results and standings through there. So thank you very much to all of them. We couldn't do 100 Racing without our amazing sponsors and partners. But now, you waited long enough, let's head to qualifying. So we are at qualifying for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix ERT Imola for 100 Racing P1 tier. So you've got myself, Jess Ball, as always, but joining me in the commentary box, once again, like last week, we've got Steve. And Steve, we've had a really brilliant race last week in Qatar. We had J. Cole take the win from Posh Evans. Unfortunately, due to some problems with his knee, Posh Evans can't make it tonight, but we've got J. Cole, he's your championship leader, and he's on a mission.
Yeah, it's an exciting one to see, of course. It's going to be hard to get the same amount of drama as we did last week with all the fuel issues and everything, but it's still going to be an exciting one. Imola, a historic circuit, such a brilliant track as well to go to. Very challenging, very technical. Pretty much only really one overtaking opportunity, maybe two if you include the Variante Alta chicane, but it's a very interesting circuit, and strategy is going to be an important one with it being a sprint and also 35% race equal and still having the two-stop. That means pit stops will be more congested and there'll be less time for drivers to make the overtakes.
Yes, indeed. So, yes, sprint race format today. 35% races during the sprint, and it totals up to around about 29 laps overall. So it's like a 50% race anyway. And on last year's game, we did one shot. We didn't like it very much, so we're trying out short qualifying. And the only way to try out short qualifying with a sprint race is do 35%. So short qualifying decides the order for the sprint race. So we got 7 laps of sprint race action. And then after that, the sprint race results will pretty much set the grid for the main 35% race, which is 22 laps. Sprint race, no stops required, unless obviously it's changeable conditions and they would have to pit anyway. Or they could be a safety car and they may want to be on the freshest tyre possible. I would recommend pitting under safety car, but there we go. But they don't have to pit anyway, unless they got damage. And then, obviously, mandatory 2 stops for the normal 35% race, with first place getting 20 points. The usual 1 hub racing points for the normal race. The sprint race, top 12 get points, but first place gets 12 points, all the way to 12th place getting 1 point. So it goes down in 1 point increments, as it were, as well. So currently fastest is the man who DNF'd last week, Brendan, who had some interesting things to say in the pre-race interviews. He loves his circuit, but he feels like that he doesn't know what it would be like in a race online situation, and it's been one of his favourites since 2021, and he just has to do what he can to have the speed under him, and he likes time trial, and he just steals people's setups, apparently. That's what his opinion is as well. But he does prefer it to be dry as well. But he's currently fastest, but he's looking to get some points after pretty much not calculating his fuel correctly, which is easily done around Qatar.
Yeah, it was pretty unfortunate. It looked like he was on for a podium until he ran out for fuel. So it's very unfortunate for Brandon. Of course, he's looking strong so far, bouncing back quite nicely with a provisional pole for the sprint at the moment. But yeah, as he said, this track is an amazing one, but it's very challenging, especially for penalties as well. A bit like Qatar, it's very easy to pick up the warnings, especially on the exits of some of the corners. So this track, you've also got to look out for the penalties like we did last week, and also fuel won't play as big as a factor in this one. I reckon tyre wear will, but yeah, the fuel isn't really too much of an issue around this circuit, but it's a brilliant one to go to. If you invalidate your last run in this qualifying session, at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world, because you do have the sprint to make up for it, but it's still a very challenging circuit, and it will punish you at every given opportunity.
Yes, and I have to say, I was a victim of track limits in my race earlier on. I ended up getting too many warnings and getting up a 3-second time penalty, which probably costed me a chance for a point in the main race. I got points in the sprint, so that's all that matters. And that's, I think, one thing that's great about the sprint. If you do rubbish in the sprint, you could bounce back in the main race, and if you do really well in the sprint but not good in the sprint in the feature race, at least you still get some points underneath you from this weekend, so you don't go home empty-handed. But anyway, Konto in the Williams, he's going to come up to the line with a 1:15.6. I think there's still time to be fine in this top tier at the moment, so it will be interesting to see what happens. We do have someone that's joined us for this season once again, just like he was last season. It is Timo. Only difference that he's on the PC side rather than the PlayStation side for this season. He got one of the top times out of all the drivers in a qualifying night in Silverstone just over a month ago now, which is really hard to believe. But pretty much being on PlayStation or Xbox compared to PC is a whole of a different league. Obviously the frame rate will be different. It's just hard to get used to, but obviously Timo is deciding to take up the challenge, and he's just invalidated as I was talking about him. Typical. But it must be very hard jumping from one platform to another, especially if you're in a league that you've been in for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to be competitive straight away. You still got to learn, because at the end of the day, it is cross-play, but they do have their differences. PlayStation to Xbox, Xbox to PC, PlayStation to PC. They all have their differences in the way the car handles slightly. So you're not going to be on the pace right away. It will take a little bit of learning for Timo to get used to. But I reckon give him a race or two, maybe even the sprint race, and he'll be right up on the pace. And yeah, he could do very, very well in this tier, but we're just going to have to wait and see what happens and see what he does have at the moment.
He's just gone into the pits now, so I think he's going to have another lap under his belt right now as well. A few people have been saying in their interviews that they haven't been feeling too confident. I think Waitsy, I was speaking to him earlier, he doesn't really like this track because he tried to keep it on the track and he keeps failing miserably, so he's hoping for a point. But he's currently sitting in P10 at the moment, so that's pretty decent as well. As we've got Canarmed, who just come across the line. Well, he's on his out lap, so he's just about to start his lap. Let's go on board, actually, with someone on a lap. So past the Tamburello chicane, tight left, right. And this was almost where Ayrton Senna lost his life for this spot. Rest in peace, Ayrton Senna. Accelerate out of Tamburello, heading towards Villeneuve. Another left-right chicane. It's named after Jules Villeneuve, who crashed here in 1980. Keep the throttle down as we approach Tosa. Keep as much to the right outside as you possibly can through there. Aiming for a late apex and good exit. We continue uphill through here and reach Piratella, a fast left-hander that again drops downhill on the exit. We lift off just a little bit slightly here and turn in to Akmirali, the hardest and most iconic sections of the track. Braking hard and then heading towards Variante after high-speed chicane that tests our core control massively, and you brake late and flip the car right, left, right. Now you're going to be going on to this back straight. You're going to be going through full gear through here and in towards Ravazza, a double left-hander at medium speed as you head towards the final corner. And we'll see what Canal can do. Can he improve on his time? Well, he goes into 4th place. He beats Jaco, and a solid, decent lap time. It's pretty close between the top 5. I think everyone in the top 8 are within the 114, so it's still anyone's game to get pole position, and it's everybody else now going on out laps very early. So does that mean, Steve, that we could see some rain?
I mean, if you look how this year went, I mean, of course, we didn't actually get the race happening because of the weather, and it is always threatening to rain around this circuit. It will be very rare you go into a league race or real life without a little bit of rain at some point during your session. So yeah, rain is always on the card, so maybe these drivers even just doing these early out laps just so they're safe. If they do invalidate their first lap, they have enough fuel in the car to then go again and just try get a competitive lap time on the board, especially Timo, because he's got no lap at the moment. So if he invalidates his first run, he does have time to go again and do a second run. So that is going to be all important for some of these drivers. Waitsy, I think, is going to be the first one on a lap. No, it's actually Nick, but he's backed off from his lap time out of Tosa. So it'll be Waitsy first to go around the track. A bit too much of the curb, I would think, through the right-hander of the Tamburello chicane. Now heading into Villeneuve, of course, the curbs do bite around here. If you take too much, you can bottom out over them. But a very decent first sector, up by 4.5 tenths, so there is certainly time he is finding in his lap time. So if he can keep that up through the middle sector, he could be on for at least a top 5 lap time here. So through the left-hander up the hill, and he's actually just got a bit wide.
Oh.
Has invalidated his lap time. It was looking so promising on his lap, but unfortunately, that is it for that one. I would have assumed that he would back off, but it doesn't seem so far. Maybe going to try get back in the pit lane within enough time, get on another set of softs, and get the car back out. I reckon he just has enough time to do that. But Konzo behind him in the Williams didn't see how much he was in the middle sector. As he now heads through the first of the 2 Ravazzas, as he now comes through the final corner. What would it be for Konzo? Is it going to be enough to promote him up into the top 10 and into the 1 minute 14s? Oh, it just isn't. It's a 1 minute 15.304, and it puts him into P11. So at the moment, the 2 Williams in first and 11th.
There we go then. It is starting to get, I think, a bit cooler in terms of track temperatures at the moment. And I think in their final laps, usually it's where some people tend to struggle. Konzo said he feels more prepared for this race and hopefully he'll be in the front group, but he's currently 12th at the moment. And he said it will be hard to tell whether he'll get a good result. It depends on how qualifying goes for him as well. And he also said it's a tricky one in terms of setup. I have to say I agree, because there's some parts of the track where you can go low downforce, and there's some tracks which require higher downforce. Again, probably a medium downforce circuit would be better as well. With 2 minutes and 20 seconds to go on the clock, Timo slots his car into P3 in that AlphaTauri. One of the drivers in ERT, who are one of our partners in this league, who sponsor our league trophies and also partner the Going Gets Tough award. And in order to do that, they have to pretty much finish every race as, Waitsy has retired in the pit lane. So I think he wants to start at the back. He even said to me earlier that starting in the middle is not the best decision. So I think starting at the back at the sprint, we'll see if he can try his best to climb his way up the order as well. So we're about to start the final push for qualifying. Let us know your thoughts in the chat on who you think is going to get pole position. Has Nick's backed off, or is he going again? I don't have my telemetry on, so it's hard to tell.
Nick's backed off. He is backed off. He's not got enough fuel in the car to do another lap, so he'll have to come into the pit lane.
Yeah, so he's what he's doing is that he's told me this before. He's done an out lap, and he's done a banker lap, and he's doing an in lap, and then he's going to go on another push run. No, but he's not going to do that as he comes into the pits. So that is misproved my theory wrong, and again, I think he doesn't want to start in the middle, so he's retiring from the session. Nicola Soro currently sitting in P1 at the moment with a 1:14.119 as qualifying is about to end. J. Cole, who won last week, said he hasn't practiced much compared to guitar, and he's mainly going to be working on his consistency. He hopes for another win. He thinks that probably with Qatar was a one-off, but you'll see. And he wouldn't mind a bit of rain around here, so that's what his expectations is currently around this circuit. And he was in the rivalries as well with Posh Evans, because obviously they were battling last week as well, and they had some interesting things to say as well. J. Cole said, if I can read it, he's sure that him and Josh will be battling throughout for sure. Imola will be quite interested to see what goes on down there, so only time will tell. So J. Cole heading towards to the Akmarai now. He seems pretty tidy at the moment. He's going to be one of the first drivers to finish off a lap. I think he's got a point to prove, hasn't he, to prove that Qatar wasn't a one-off.
Yeah, that's really what he's got to prove. It doesn't seem like he's going to be improving on his lap time, though, at the moment. But at the end of the day, he's still within that group of the top 6, top 7, so it's not the end of the world for him. Of course, we do have the sprint as well, so he can make up a bit of time there, but what would it be for him coming to the line? It's not an improvement. Half a second down there for J. Cole. Mats, though, he goes up into 3rd place. He did a really odd strategy last time. I think he said in the Driver of the Day interview he actually forgot it was 2-stop until mid-race, so that's why he did a bit of an odd strategy compared to everyone else. But 3rd place here in the qualifying session. But will Brendan be able to topple Nicola Soro, who was on top of the session for so long? But no, he cannot reclaim pole position. And it seems that Nicola Soro might be able to keep his pole position. Delta Hunter to the line. Is it going to be good enough? He improves up to 14th. Waitley ends up in last place. And Nicola Soro is the man on pole position.
The man who won Bahrain pre-season race as well. And he was in some really great battles last time out as well. But I think he admitted in the post-race interviews that he really wanted to get that race victory last week in Qatar. So he has 2 chances in the sprint and in the main race as well. But let's have a look at this short qualifying results then. So Nicola Soro will be starting on pole position with Forza Brendan joining him on the front row. We've got ERT Matt and Casper on the 2nd row. Timo and Callum on the 3rd row. We've got J. Cole and Colin on the 4th row. Vitality and Nick on the 5th row. Then we've got Axelot and Lukey in 11th and 12th. Conzo and Delta Hunter 13th and 14th. And Waitsy in last in 15th position. So there we go. That is your running order. But before we have a little bit of a look at this formation lap, I've done a little bit of a tutorial video as to what you can expect from the sprint race. In some One Hub racing seasons, we'll be having a sprint weekend format for some of the rounds. The format starts with short qualifying, where the results of that determine where you start in the sprint race. we then have the sprint race. There are no mandatory pit stops, but you can take one if you wish to get an advantage during a safety car period or changeable conditions. Points are awarded to the top 12. First place gets 12 points and 12th place gets 1 point. No fastest lap will be rewarded during the sprint race. Drivers will still have laps counted towards their engine wear for the sprint too, so they need to think tactically on whether they want to take their engine that week. After the sprint race, we'll have the main race. In rounds where there is a sprint race, the main race distance is 35%. The results from the sprint race will determine the starting order for this. Apart from the race distance, normal one-hub racing rules apply from then on, such as the mandatory 2-stop and the usual one-hub racing points are awarded, with first place getting 20 points. So we are back then as the sprint race is about to commence with myself and Steve in the commentary box. Formation lap is on this week because there was a patch on Monday and somehow it fixed the formation lap bug where basically people would get disqualified if they reverse or something like that. So luckily we're able to have formation lap back again, which is great to see, and it gives us a good chance to look at the tyres then. So 7 laps, as I said, alluded to earlier on in the broadcast for the sprint race. Pretty much everyone has gone for the softs except for Delta Hunter. I'm not really that surprised on a majority of people's choices. Delta Hunter has left the session. Hopefully we can get him back in it but well, I'm a bit perplexed as to why Delta Hunter has gone for mediums. I did a race around here just about an hour ago. We're doing a sprint race on the softs, and it was fine, but I'm guessing Delta Hunter wanted durable tyres towards the end of the sprint race.
Yeah, I mean, I would expect the softs to be able to last and not really hit the cliff as much as they would around the likes of Qatar, but tyre wear is still quite a big issue around Imola. Not as much as it is around Qatar. They can last a while. So say if you were doing a one-stop, unlike Qatar where you're on the verge of getting a puncture on the final stint, around Imola you're all right and you're in a decent region of just being below the puncture territory. So, I mean, mediums, they might come into their strength at the end of the sprint, but I wasn't expecting him to be able to do anything at all really against these other drivers, maybe even dropping down to last place behind Waitsy and not really coming up through the order unless a crash happens. But yeah, it's a bit of an odd strategy choice, I think, but if he wants to try it, it's only the sprint, he can make up for it in the main race. We'll just have to wait and see.
Exactly, and it's only 7 laps, no mandatory pit stops, remember. And this is a 4.909 kilometre circuit, 3.050 miles, and 1 DRS zone heading towards the pretty much past Ravazza into the start-finish straight. So we're about to get going. Nicola Soro is starting on pole position. And who's going to come out on top in the sprint race? And who's going to start on pole? For the feature race, the 5 red lights are on for the second round of the P1 tier. And we are go. And unfortunately, the camera is not the best as they make their way towards turn number 1. But looks like Nicola Soro got away well. Forza Brendan pretty much boxed in for the likes of Matt and Timo. Turn 1 could get a bit hairy, but looks like they're A-OK. I think there was one of the Ferraris that bumped off the curb a little bit. I think the 2 Ferraris got in a bit of a tangle, unfortunately. Lukey dropping down into 15th. I think that was him who dropped off the curb, sadly. But it's Nicola Soro P1, Forza Brendan P2, Timo in 3rd, Matt in 4th, and there's a yellow flag, and that is Delta has had a bit of a spin. I'm guessing that was when he rejoined in the session, unfortunately, which is a bit of a shame. But he's probably going to go on a set of softs and try and get those to the end of the sprint as well. But they're having a good start, and that is very crucial at this stage.
Yeah, a very, very good start there from Nicola Soro. Pole isn't really where you want to be heading down into turn 1 on lap 1, but he's managed to make it pay off. But I did see during that run down to turn 1, Brendan and Matt's actually had a little bit of contact between each other. I don't think Brendan saw Matt's on the inside. Luckily, they both, I think, are A-OK. But that's actually allowed Timo to get past Casper and Matt. He's up 2 positions now in this race. Now Brendan needs to focus on the Haas in front of him and the Colo and just wait for the DRS to arrive. Of course, only 7 laps in this one, so it is going to be very, very quickly finished, and you need to make your moves count. So just waiting to see if anyone's going to be able to make a move, maybe into Tozer. If anyone is close enough, maybe the likes of Matt, Casper, or J. Cole could make a move into the Tozer hairpin. I don't think they will, though. They're all just going to sit one by one behind each other. But at the moment, I've actually got my intervals are actually glitched at the moment. Oh, Konzo and Fatality! Fatality's had to go wide there. I think that was what contact with Konzo through Tozer, forcing the McLaren wide. The Williams stays ahead, but now Lukey is trying to get past the Williams now. This is all over P11, so this is for 2 points in this race, sprint race, sorry. And we'll see if Konzo is able to hold on. It looks like he is for now, but Lukey might want to make Konzo pay for the mistake he had with Fatality just a little bit ago. But at the moment, the top 6, sorry, staying the same. Not too many moves on this second lap.
Yeah, I was expecting, I think, a little bit more risk being made, but these are top-tier drivers. They are smarter than that as well, and it's very great to see that it is clean so far. As let's see if Brendan could go on the attack on Nicolas Oro this time round. Nope, he is not. I think he's going to pretty much save them ERS, but one who's looking very racy. He was about, I think, 8 hundredths of a second behind Mats was Casper for a moment, but again, he didn't get past, unfortunately. What about Konzo on Lukey again? He's really boxed in with Lukey in front and Fatality behind him, heading towards Tozer now. He could try and go around the outside, which he's not going to. Unfortunately, Delta Hunter has retired in the pit lane, so unfortunately, he's not going to get any points in the sprint race. He's going to be starting from the back of the grid, sadly, for the main 22-lap race. It's a shame that his race didn't really get started, to be honest. He got disconnected. We tried to get him rejoined, which he did, but I think he wasn't able to maybe control his car, or when he rejoined, it was in a really weird manner, unfortunately, as I think Waity was trying to get past Fatality there for the time being as well. But yes, Brendan, I think he's just waiting for the prime opportunity. He knows, even though it's a sprint race, it could feel like the longest 7 laps of your life.
Yeah, because you just have to wait, really. And here he goes, Brendan, to the outside. He'll be at the inside for turn 1, and he gets the move done before we even get to the braking zone. He's into P1. He now needs to start trying to pull away from the Haas and Nicolo behind him. Would he be able to? I don't think so. I reckon the Haas is just going to use a bit of his battery. I mean, it's 4 laps in so far. We've got about 4 to go in this race, so yeah, it's going to be hard for Brendan to pull. I don't think he will. But yeah, this race, it feels so long as a driver because it just is so short. You don't expect it to be this short when you're in this sort of setting and how competitive everybody is. So you sort of just try wait behind the driver in front. Then you realise it's the final lap. You got to make your move then. And yeah, it just feels like an eternity, this race. But J. Cole all over the back of his teammate Casper in the Red Bulls, as Mats actually makes a mistake coming out of Valiente Alta, and unfortunately that might allow J. Cole to get past Casper. He might get the pair of them into Ravazza. Is he going to get the move done on Mats as well? There's contact between Casper and Mats, and it forces Mats a bit wide through the first Ravazza, and Casper is able to hang on around the outside there, but this might invite Colin to make a move on J. Cole in front. Nicolo gets in front of Brendan before the braking zone. Casper gets past Mats. J. Cole gets past Mats. Will Colin be able to get past Mats? Round the outside the Mercedes goes, but no, he just has to sit behind, and Canard now might try and move into the Villeneuve chicane. Is he going to get close enough? No, he just pulls in behind, and there's a bit of a scrap at the back of the field. Lukey dropped behind Fatality there. Konzo has been overtaken by Waitsy, and I think that is going to be the end of the battles for this lap around, unless Axlock and Nick are side by side. Oh, what's happened? Oh, Lukey's round.
Lukey's round, unfortunately, but I think we can see Fatality and Waitsy almost going into a little bit of a scrap there. I have to say, fair play to these drivers. They're keeping it so clean, even though it's a sprint race. I have to say, bearing in mind I was part of the P3 race and I watched a bit of the P2 race. I have to say it's a lot cleaner compared to the other 2 tiers, so well done to all of them as well. And we do not have long to go until the end of this one, so it's going to be hard to keep up maybe. But I have to say, if I was the likes of Colin, Callum, Axelot, I'll be loving these battles going on at the moment. But we are going to try and see Brendan. He's going to push to the left-hand side, go for the lead once again with the DRS, and he gets past as well. Nicolo stays ahead. Oh no, what's happened there? That was, I think, that was Timo that's gone off a little bit. Surely that means that Timo's got to let Nicolo through, which I think he is. Yes, he is. But I think he's going to go for another scrap very soon as well. But I think he just lost his braking zone into Tamburello in turn number 2. Now, if you think, no, that's turn number 1. Nope, it's not. Turn 1 is a kink, and then turn 2 is the first braking zone that you see, which I can get quite confusing, by the way, at times. And I usually... Jayco is usually in the Alpine. I don't know why he's in the Red Bull tonight, but surely that will be brought up in the office later on tonight as well. But 1.5 laps to go, and there's still people that can gain some moves. It's going to be a hectic final lap, I can tell you that. Grab your popcorn. This is going to be deciding the main event.
Yeah, what happened in turn 2, was Timo, I think he missed his braking point and went straight into the back of Nicolo Soro. And yeah, that just really cost both of them a chance of winning this race. But Casper, he's got an opportunity to get past Timo, but Timo has the battery advantage to defend down the straight. He doesn't have DRS, Casper does. But Timo, with the battery advantage, is able to stay ahead. Kanam now to around the outside of Mats. There's a bit of contact made. Kanam just about saves the car. And yeah, nicely done there from Kanam to keep his car in a straight line. Axlock has gone round as well. He's gone off on the exit of Tamburello. And I reckon, unless there's a move down into the first of the 2 Rabatzas by some of these drivers, that is going to be the last of your moves, because there isn't really any overtaking opportunities left. I say that, J. Cole might go for it into Aqua Minerale, but no, he just sits behind Casper. Timo, Casper and J. Cole all battling for the final podium positions, and it's a bit like when these 2 Red Bulls were stuck behind Max. The AlphaTauri leading the 2 Red Bulls, making a mistake again out of Variante Alta. Will Casper be able to make the move down into the first Ravatza? We'll have a look now. He's going to look to the outside. Timo defends the inside. This might help J. Cole try swoop around the outside. Brendan comes to the line. Wins your sprint race. He is on provisional pole. Nicolo second. Timo third. He hangs on to the 3rd place there. And Canard 8th. 9th is going to be Nick. Fatality, you would think, is 10th. Yep, Conzo 11th. And Waitsy rounds out your point scorers. And it'll be Axlock and Lukey to round out your finishers.
Now, I've just heard what happened to Delta Hunt as to why he retired and potentially why he disconnected. His wheel broke down, which was absolutely frustrating for Delta Hunter. Hopefully, he can have a good recovery to win, to potentially win some more points. As Delta Hunter has got Driver of the Day in-game, but we don't pick Driver of the Day yet until, obviously, we get to the main event. So we've still got a little bit of a while to think about it. So, your grid for the 22-lap race is Brendan will be starting on pole, Nicolas Ora in 2nd, Timo in 3rd, Casper 4th, Jake will be starting 5th, Colin from 8th to 6th, Matt's dropped down from 3rd to 7th, so he needs a good recovery drive from the sprint race to the feature. Callum in 8th, Nick in 9th, Fatality in 10th. Then we got Condor 11th, Waity will start 12th, Axelot will be starting 13th, Lukey 14th, and Delta Hunter will be starting at the back of the grid. And unfortunately, he was your only retirement. And Steve, there was so much action happening everywhere. Most of it has been quite clean as well. And I have to say, I think the main action happened pretty much in towards turn number 1, the DRS straight, heading towards Tamburello, which has proved many battles in the past as well. I think we saw Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen fight there many years gone by. And also this was a track where we saw Lando Norris get his one of his first podiums there as well. He likes the track. Obviously, he didn't get a podium this time because there was no Imola race due to obviously what happened with the weather. According to the weather at the moment, looks like it's pretty cloudy. It's been cloudy for the majority of the weekend, but most of the drivers have a second chance to potentially get a better result, Brendan has got a chance to get maximum points today.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult for Brendan, especially with the strategy element now involved as well, because of course, mandatory 2-stop for this 22-lap race. So we're just going to have to wait and see. Brendan will be hoping to be able to hang on to P1, but it's certainly going to be a challenge. I mean, it wasn't even certain that he was going to hang on for the sprint race until the collision with Nicolo and Timo into turn 1. So it's going to be a close race. I reckon most drivers would probably do a soft, medium, soft, or a soft, soft, medium around here. Because, again, tyre wear isn't as bad as it was around Qatar. So you are able to run both sets of mediums quite fine. Quite fine. But, yeah, it's going to be an entertaining race. A lot of battles probably through the field. And I'm hoping we once again get another battle for the win.
I really do hope so. We almost got robbed, didn't we, last week with Posh Evans running out of fuel, and it was a shame about what happened to Nicola Soro and Timo earlier on as well. But already, the drivers, they are not waiting around, are they? They want to get this race underway. And a quick reminder of our sponsors before we head to the main event. Massive shout out to Next Level Racing for providing prizes, including a stand for our champions. Also, Aztec Sim Sports providing sim racing boots to the drivers with the shortest combined time. Also, massive shout out to Pure Sim Gear, who are providing gloves or socks to the drivers for the most fastest laps and poles combined. Also, Mystery Sim Box, who are providing a mystery shirt box to the winner of One Hub Racing driver rankings. Our partner Vespertine, who are partnering us with some lovely merch of ours. ERT, Elite Racing Team, are partnering our championship trophies and also sponsoring the ERT Go Against Tough Award, and our partners at SimGrid. Thanks to them for partnering the community platform where we put the standings and allowing people to register. So there we go. Those are sponsors out of the way. Let's look at the tyres, Steve. And again, most people have gone for softs, but more people have gone for mediums this time, and we'll look at the drivers that have done so. Matt, Nick and Waitsy have gone for the mediums.
It could be a very interesting alternate strategy. I mean, you're getting the mediums out of the way first, and you're on the 2 faster tyres while everyone else has to go on a set of mediums, and then either back to the softs or onto another set of mediums, depending on what they want to do. So it could be a smart strategy in a sense, because yes, they take the hit now, but they have more time later on to recover from that hit. And this could really work into their hands. We're just going to have to wait and see. It's an interesting strategy course, of course. Everyone pretty much doing the same strategy, just different orders, but it's an aggressive one because they get to use as much tyre as they want through the first stint, then through the second, and then through the third. So you're just 100% pushing all the time. So it's surely going to be an entertaining one to look out for.
Yes, indeed. So we've done the sprint. This was a warm-up. We're about to go with the 22-lap race. 35%, the first ever 35% race of One Hub Racing P1 tier. The 5 red lights are on, and we are go once again. Let's see what the start is like this time as they pass the start-finish straight then. It's a pretty even start this time between our top 2. And again, being boxed in into turn 1 as Brendan holds the lead for Nicola Soro. And it's a bit more of a pile-up this time. I think a lot of drivers going off. Colin being one of those drivers. Jaco, our championship leader. The big surprise there has dropped it down into 15th spot. What a shame for him, but the top 3 keeping it relatively clean. Casper in 4th, Canarmed in 5th place. Nick doing well on these means in a 6th spot, but yeah, Colin Mason and Jaco getting a bit of a tangle. A huge shot already on lap 1.
Yeah, I think Colin might have got a bit too hot on the brakes there, just tagged the rear left of J. Cole, and it sent J. Cole spinning round. Of course, Colin was also held up. Matt's as well. It's not worked for him with this strategy. He is on the mediums, but the person who has actually made a brilliant start is Nick at the moment. He has actually gained 3 places on these medium tyres. He's up to P6 right now. He can now start pushing as much as he possibly can. Of course, these softs will be good at first, but they will eventually drop off and bring these mediums into play. So we're just going to wait and see when that is. But Kananda's starting to drop off from the top 4. But J. Cole got a brilliant start, getting past his teammate and just was sitting behind the top 3. Then, of course, the contact with Colin happened. And Timo, he tried making it 3 wide into turn 1, but backed out of it. Smarter move there. As Fatality's now dropping down the order. Obviously made a mistake there out of Tamburello. But he's now gone down to 12th place. I think that's the last of the point scorers. But Lukey and Waitsy have also made a good start. They're now up into 8th and 9th. And it seems that most people have gone up due to the J. Cole, Colin and Matt's incident. But they're still within a good shout of maybe a good few points here and maybe even a top 5.
Yes, normal one hub racing point supply for this main race. First place getting 20 points, and you also get a point for the fastest lap if you're inside of the top 10, and if you're outside of the top 10, you also get a point if you get the fastest lap within that as well. So pretty much loads of opportunities for people to get decent points, even if you're not scoring that well anyway, and that can mean huge for your championship chances. DRS is about to be enabled, so if they're within 1 second of the car ahead and within the DRS zone, they're able to use it. But Casper doesn't even need the DRS as he tries to close in on Timo, but I think he would have got the move done anyway with DRS, but he doesn't have it, obviously, due to this lap. We've got the 2 Ferraris and Delta Hunter having a nice little battle, pass through in towards turn 3 then, as Lukey, the leader of that train, he is vulnerable though, because he's out of DRS range, whereas the likes of Delta and Waitsy and Axelot working together. Oh, someone spun! That's Axelot again, Phil Villeneuve, and he's in the gravel. Luckily, Ghosting's on, and he just about avoided Jacob for the time being. Oh, the luck just keeps getting worse and worse for Axelot. Unfortunately, he's down into 14th spot, but a nice little fight we're seeing with the 2 Ferraris and Delta Hunter there. Much better race so far for Delta Hunter. He's already up into 9th. He says he only got the game only recently, F123, and he's starting to hit more of his stride now as he's getting used to it, which is really, really great to see. But this is not a new track, so I think we start to get a little bit of a feel as to what his pace like, because this track has been on the F1 games for quite a while indeed. But we'll see what the top 4 could do now as DRS comes into full effect right now.
Yeah, Casper getting closer and closer to Timo. He wants to make that move and get up into the top 3 and maybe start catching up to the top 2 in front. Konzo gets past Nick. That's overtake has sort of been brewing this whole time because, of course, Konzo's on the softs, Nick's on the mediums, and yeah, at the moment Konzo has a lot more pace through the corners, but Casper still about 2.5 tenths behind Timo in front of him. They're really, really close to pair of them, but Casper, I feel like, might need to make this move now if he wants to maybe do the undercut in the first stint or maybe even in the second stint. He sort of needs to get past Timo to do that, to maximise the effect and maybe jump both Nicolo and Brandon. But we're just going to have to wait and see what he does. I wouldn't be surprised if he also just sits behind, saves the battery, and also saves the tyres for a late push in the stint. But we're just going to wait and see what he does. Brendan's had a very good start. He's maintained the gap. That DRS has also brought Nicolo in slightly, but Brendan's had a very good start, maintaining that gap nicely. But I wouldn't be surprised if Nicolo is able to get ahead, heading down into turn 1 and into the Tamburello chicane. DRS open for the Haas. But no, actually, this could invite Timo into the battle. Is he going to be close enough to make a move on the Haas in front of him? No, just going to have to sit behind. But Brendan keeps P1 for now and is cruising. Well, not cruising, but maintaining the gap nicely out in front with a nice, constant pace.
And I think that's what you got to do around Imola, because even though it is much easier to overtake than Qatar, there's only one DRS zone anyway. So there's some situations where people may find it harder and they may not want to take too much risks. And if you are starting on pole position and you're able to keep that lead, you're going to be able to stretch the gap a little bit more, whereas Qatar, it's sort of high speed, people are able to follow each other more, that people have similar pace around Qatar. So I think that's what Brendan is doing, and Nicolo is just going to rely on having an extra bit of DRS. But Brendan has the extra straight line speed anyway, so I wonder if Nicolo's running a more medium downforce up to pretty much stick your cars to the corners. We got our first time penalty, by the way. That is Colin, so he's already picked up some warnings to his name. We got one person that's doing his first pit stop early, and that's pretty much what I would have done if I was starting on the soft. So Nicolo and Canarmed wanting to get their pit stops done at a decent time, and they're both, I think, going to go on to a set of the mediums. At least Nicolo's going to do the same. Yeah, they're both going to be on the medium tyres. But what will Brendan and Timo do? Will they follow Nicolo in? I think they've got to at this point, because we know the undercut could be worth a second a lap if they don't pit at the right time. So I think next lap, well, the end of this lap, I mean, the top two will be in.
Yeah, you would maybe think that they would react to, especially Nicolo behind, because they can jump him here maybe. Just if they have the hotter tyres through the first sector, and the softs, they still will have a bit of pace in them. They won't be as quick as they once were, but you would really need to box now. React as soon as possible. Timo could jump the Haas here. He wasn't too far behind heading in to the DRS zone, but of course, Nicolo did pit, but actually Casper's got past Timo. Casper's caught Timo now, but he's gone wide onto the gravel. He's nearly dropped it into the path of Timo. Luckily, they both go through unscathed. Timo stays out for an extra lap. Brandon and Casper coming into the pit lane, but Timo caught napping there by Casper. He went for the move around the outside, got it done, went onto the gravel, and nearly dropped it into the path of the AlphaTauri, and Brendan and Casper onto a set of mediums. Where will they come out in relation to Nicolo and Canarmed?
Well, I think that's going to be really tight to say, Steve, at this stage, but I think with them losing a lot of time into a Vata, they probably would have a huge buffer between himself and the ones that potentially have pitted. But Nicolo trying to get past on the older rubber, and that's definitely helped him going through. So Nicolo is leading, and Brendan is now in second spot. So that was what the squabble has costed them, unfortunately. But it is an easy mistake. I think those two, I think obviously Casper lost the rear heading towards Vivata, and it's no harm done between the two of them. But what could have been, I think, for those two, as we're on lap 7 of 22. Believe it or not, we've already passed the sprint race distance, and they're about to do more laps in this race. And I have to say that certain drivers looking very good and certain drivers are not looking good. Timo, though, I wonder if him pitting now has probably cost him a little bit, or if it's helped him. There could be a safety car that could bring him back into the mix, or you never know, they could be ahead of them. So watching the Nicolo, Forza, Brendan and Casper battle, they can't afford to squabble too much, because otherwise Timo will come out ahead anyway. Timo, interestingly, has gone on for a set of the soft tyres. Nick has pitted and gone on for a set of the hard tyres. So a mixture of strategies for the drivers today. So Nicolo and Brendan and Casper both all get past Timo. But Timo is going to have the fresher rubber for, I think, 5-6 laps. I think it's a soft, medium strategy for Timo. And I don't know what Nick's going to do. I think it's medium, hard, soft, I think. Or if there's a safety car, at least he can go into the mediums until the end as well. He'll let lunge from Canarmed there, heading towards Toetser there, almost in towards turn 7. But Timo is going to probably be expected to pull away at this point.
Yeah, it's a bit of an odd strategy there from Timo. You'd think he'll do the same as everybody else. He'll be on the weak tyre near the end of the race, the mediums. Yes, he can get the undercut in because he'll box earlier than these guys, probably around about lap 12, 13-ish from these softs, and then the medium runners will probably be coming in around about lap 16, 17, maybe even lap 15. So he will be ahead after the pit stops, you would assume, but it's a bit of an odd one because everyone else will be on the softs. They'll be so much quicker than his sort of older mediums, and yeah, it's not really the strategy I would have expected him to do, but it could pay off for him near the end of the race. Here comes Casper on Brendan. Easy done down the main straight, just DRS versus no DRS, and he gets the move done there in the Red Bull. Now going to try turn his attention to the Haas in front of him. It looks like everyone has made a pit stop in this race other than Waitsley at the moment, but we're just going to have to wait and see where Waitsley filters out. But Casper, 1.1 behind Nicolo. They are starting to gain on him, but is it going to be enough come near the pit stop window?
Yes, that's all that matters really at the end of the day. You never know, there could be a safety car and that may not help Waitsy in the slightest. So if he wants to, he has to come in now ideally and then potentially go on to maybe a safe. So I think Waity's going to do medium soft. That's what I did. That's what I tried to do in the race last time, but there was a safety car after 2 laps of me being on the soft, so that kind of screwed my strategy over. So hopefully Waitsy won't be in the same position. Fingers crossed for him, as we're pretty much in the crucial stages of people trying to get some heat into the tyres, and we're seeing which strategy could work out a bit. I think the hard strategy is not working out for Nick, unfortunately, because he's dropped a second to Canarms, but I think he's praying that he could stretch those hard tyres for a little bit longer and then maybe have a very short soft stint at the end. Potential could be, again, a safety car as well, as Delta gets past Conzo just before turn 1, now heading towards the braking zone of turn 2. And that was nicely done from the Aston Martin driver. Much better showing from him, and he's up into 9th spot for now. And looks like Timo is not suiting his softs well. I think it's mainly down to track position really, more than tyres at this point, because the ones on the mediums, they seem to be doing fine with Nicolo leading that train, and Timo, just because he's stuck in that train, is not able to use his soft pace effectively enough, and the optimum pace, they're going to be lost very, very soon. So probably a regret for Timo, but it's still a long race ahead. Still about 11 or 12 laps to go. Lukey's just picked up a time penalty, by the way. Timo has just got to get past ASAP, because otherwise being on the softs is pretty much meaningless at this point.
Yeah, he's got to use his battery, really. That's the advantage he has as well, is he's got to use his battery down this straight. Here comes Brendan on Casper. He's going to get that move done. Timo needs to follow him through here. He's going to go to the outside for turn 1. He gets it done. Brendan will stay ahead of the AlphaTauri of Timo, but that is going to be probably short term, because the battery advantage that Timo has over Brendan is quite substantial. So we're just going to have to wait for Timo to use his tyres. He needs to push through this middle sector, be all over the gearbox of Brendan on the exit of the second Ravazza, and then he needs to get that move done down the main straight nice and easily, and then focus his attention on the Cola. He will obviously probably do the undercut on his pit stops, because of course that is the optimum strategy for him at the moment, is doing the undercut, getting ahead of these drivers and let them try chase him. But what that puts him in is a bit of a predicament like he is in now, where the soft tyres are so much quicker that he'll just be eaten alive through by the likes of Casper, Brendan and Nicolo. So it's going to be a very difficult end to this race, I reckon, for Timo once he comes in, does his pit stops, and everyone else as well, as Waitsy actually makes his first pit stop of the race. But here we go. Is Timo going to get the move done on Brendan? You think he will, heading down the main straight. Yes, he goes to the inside. It's going to be maybe on the brakes, but no, Brendan backs out of it. He thinks better of it and just is waiting for the perfect opportunity.
Yes, I think a lot of people are being very patient, but this was the time that Timo needed to get past. If he didn't get past in that lap, he was going to be in a lot of trouble. So yes, I think he was saving a bit of battery there as they both head towards Toza, and that is allowing Nicolo to breathe a sigh of relief, because he's able to pull away the gap. He knows that the softs won't last forever. We experienced that in the sprint race a little bit earlier on as well, and you can check that out after the stream, because that's been and gone. And we saw a nice fight between Brendan and Nicolo there as well. But looks like Brendan could try and get past the Variante Alta, but couldn't quite do it, as Delta Hunter has picked himself some penalties. So we're getting more penalties being handed out to the drivers, unfortunately, as well. And we could start to see people's true pace now, as it won't be long before some of the drivers think about pitting for a set of maybe the mediums or even the soft tyres as well. They can last about 7 laps, no problem, as well, as pretty much take 2 for Timo, this time on Nicolo. He hasn't got much straight line speed to get past at the moment, but he can use the turn and the slipstream to really try and close in, at least at the moment as well. Let's see if anyone else is looking quite close at the front as well. Look at this. We've got Nick and Lukey trying to fight for position. Don't forget, it's for 6th place. Lukey's got a time penalty as well, and it's great to see them two fighting like this. Obviously, we've got Nick on the hard compounded tyres, Lukey on the mediums. We know that Lukey will have the better delta, but we know that, again, the means will wear out quite quickly. So Nick has got to be very, very patient at this point. It's really nice to see the two co-owners fighting like this. We don't usually get to see this. So it's really nice to see, despite the fact they're on different tyres.
Yeah, it's a nice little battle that they're having at the moment. I mean, Nick, I wouldn't assume that would have been the strategy that I would have done, doing the medium hard, then probably onto the soft tyres. But at the end of the day, it's all up to what you prefer and how you think the tyres play out in your hands and everything. So if he is more comfortable in doing a medium hard soft, then it is entirely up to him. Kanard actually is the first one to pull the trigger before Timo as well. He's going for an absolutely massive undercut here, is the Alfa Romeo, onto a set of softs. So he will be faster than everybody else on the circuit, as Timo getting closer to Nicolo, but just not going to be able to make the move unless Nicolo makes a mistake as they head into Toza. But no. But Kanard, we need to look out for him now, because where will he come out compared to everyone else? Brendan might make a move up into Piratella, but no, he's just sitting behind. But yeah, we really need to look out for Kanard now for when everybody else comes into the pit lane. I think that's Axelot making a mistake out of the Tamburello chicane, but he manages to stay ahead of Waitsy.
Yes, a lot more mistakes as the tyres get more rubbered in and they start to lose their the derogation, unfortunately. So that's probably why more people at the back are making mistakes. But the ones that are pitted early, this is going to be huge for them as well. If there's a safety car, they're screwed. But if there's no safety car, they could be winning a good shot as Lukey gets past. Oh no! They both made contact. And Konzo's like, you know what, I'll try and get past him. He just about avoided it, but my oh my, that was a bit of a shame. I pretty much caught the aftermath of that as well, but I think they've got a bit of damage there, and that's allowing, I think, Colin to catch up to them as well. Same with Jayco. It's nice to see them back in this as well, with a little bit of a squirmy on exit 3 with Vatsa then, as Delta has passed Konzo, because Konzo is doing his second stop. Here comes Colin then, to the inside of turn 2. And Lukey trying to get the cut back there, as J. Cole fighting with him too. Just about squeezed him through turn 3. That was very tight. That could have ended up much worse between the pair of them. But I think J. Cole just about gets ahead of Lukey there. Past into Villeneuve chicane now. So, yeah, I think the damage that Lukey has had, unfortunately, is starting to take a toll on him. But that's allowing quite a lot more people to try and get some more decent points up the order.
Yeah, unfortunate there for Lukey with that contact with Delta Hunter. But J. Cole, after that turn 1 incident, has recovered slightly, up into P9 at the moment, might be able to get Colin as well. But when does Timo pit? That is the question. When does he come into the pit lane and come off these soft compound tyres? Because here comes Nicolo. Into turn 1, he gets the move done nicely there. Will Brendan follow him through? No, they will not. But Timo's softs are going to hit the cliff very, very shortly. He needs to go on to mediums now, maximise the use he has on the undercut on how many laps he can do, and just try stay ahead throughout the remainder of the race. He has the battery advantage at least over the Colo for now, and probably for the rest of the race. Brendan is saving that battery behind him in the DRS. But if I was Timo, I would come in right now, because I need to make the most of the medium tyres before the likes of Nicolo, Brendan and Casper all come into the pit lane for their set of soft tyres.
Yeah, I think it's quite hard to tell, really, because if you're in the front, then you don't know what the drivers are going to do around you. But if you're in the middle, you're like, oh, I'm going to come in because the other driver's going to come in, because otherwise you'll lose time on the undercut. So Nicolo is in a huge disadvantage in these later stages because he's right up front. But surely he would have planned a strategy anyway on what he was going to do. As you can see them all potentially coming in. Timo comes in to be expected. His tyres were dying anyway, and he could benefit from the undercut. But bearing in mind, he's going to be on the harder rubber. He's already done 2 soft stints. He's got to go onto a set of medium tyres, which is going to be hard for him because everyone else around him is going to be on softs. So here he comes then, out of the pits. Quite a comfortable pit stop from him then. So we'll keep an eye on these two. They've got to have the best in-lap they can in order to gain a lot of time on Timo. They're going to have the tyre advantage come the end of this one. Same with Casper, but Casper's lost a lot of time to the front too. But I think he's going to be happy where he is at the moment as Kanam gets past Axelot then up in the 10th spot. Don't forget, in One Hub Racing, top 12 score points in the main event. And we had the sprint race not so long ago. Not that long to go until the end of this race. If you haven't already, make sure you leave this video a like, hit that subscribe button and turn notifications on if you are new. And also follow us on Twitch as well and Twitter at One Hub Racing. And I refuse to call it X because it's a rubbish name for a social media site. No offence. I hope that person is not watching the stream right now. But anyway, Kanam's got some brilliant entry speed on Weighty then heading towards the Variante Alta. But Steve, we got some pit stops. Nicolo is in.
Yeah, now we need to see where Timo comes out. Kanam did gain quite a bit of time on Timo on the pit stop window there. He's going to gain more time due to him being on the soft tyres compared to Timo's mediums. Nicolo obviously going onto the soft tyres, but Timo, he was stuck in a bit of traffic behind Lukey. He will have DRS down the main straight though, but where does he come out in relation to that Haas? He gets past Lukey with ease, and the Haas is out now. He's out in front. He's actually managed to stay in front of the AlphaTauri, and now on the soft tyres, this is huge for Timo's race. He needs to use the hotter tyres heading into Tosa to get in front of the Haas in front of him, but will he be able to? Through Villeneuve now, he's all over the back of Nicolo. There's some rain! Rain is falling on the circuit, but Nicolo stays in front of Timo, and that is massive for this race. But where does Brendan come out in all of this? He needs to pit as well. The rain is falling on the circuit. We've only got about 5 laps to go in this one, and will the rain play a part in this race?
Wow. I don't think any of the drivers were predicted that. And that's probably why the likes of Brendan has stayed out, because they were hoping the rain was going to come soon. Or maybe the rain wasn't going to come down soon enough. I don't know. Bearing in mind, it is a 2-stop strategy for these drivers. If they do not do a 2-stop race, they will be disqualified. And Nick pitted quite a while back as well. He didn't think him staying out would be the beneficiary right now. He didn't do too bad on those hard tyres, even though he lost about a second or two. That's all he lost. I thought he would have lost more time, but he did a really pretty good job. So we'll see how he can manage at the end. But your net race leader at the moment is Timo. Pretty much him being on those mediums will help him a little bit more. But sometimes I find, personally anyway, the softs being a lot better in these kind of like slicker conditions in a way. But you can see Timo getting ahead of J. Cole on the fresher rubber into Piratella. Nicely done from Timo. And he's looking on course to be winning this race. I don't think it's going to be to a possible chance for a safety car. I think it'll be too late for a safety car. Hooky in the chat saying red should be okay. I think it might too, as Brendan comes in. He's not charged against J. Cole gets a penalty, which is a bit of a shame, but he's not charged for the rain to come down hard enough. But on this game, once it comes down, it comes down. So, Brendan, here he comes then. He's going to go onto the soft tyres. Let's hope the rain doesn't come down too hard for him, but I think he's going to lose so much time due to the fact I think he's lost 3 or 4 seconds just by staying out. But here's the front 3, and obviously J. Cole will need to pit as well. I think J. Cole's the only one to pit. Konzo's on inters. Konzo's on inters.
Yeah, I think Konzo is just trying out a strategy here just to see if he can make up any time at all, because of course he wasn't really in the best position, but I don't think it will work. This rain isn't coming down hard enough around this circuit. But the big surprise is Timo is actually pulling away from Nicolo, so maybe this medium strategy might work, surprisingly to us all, because you'd think the softs would be better now, and of course Nicolo was ahead, heading down into turn 1 and Tamburello, but obviously the DRS too powerful for him to defend from. And now Timo is in a very, very good position in this race. Casper 13 seconds up the road, he would obviously get him with the pit stop. But it's all about the rain now, really, for Timo. He's got to make it so that he can stay on the road. He has enough temperature in his tyres to stay on the road if it does get too heavy. It doesn't seem like it will, but with about 1 lap to go, once we cross the line, it'll be the final lap once we cross. No, actually, no. Next time around, sorry, didn't see where Casper was on the circuit. But next time around is the final lap. If it starts raining hard enough around this lap, we could maybe get a very slippy and slidey final lap to this Grand Prix.
And that could be a very interesting end, not going to lie, as well as J. Cole has come in. He is going on to the intermediate tyres because he thought, you know, why not? I'm going to lose quite a bit of time anyway. And he feels like that it will be coming wetter and wetter. Probably is based on previous experience, not going to lie. But he's dropping down into 13th. Lukey's on the inters as well. It's still not damp enough. It's still not damp enough. And Casper hasn't done his mandatory 2-stop yet, I think. Let's check. Nope, he hasn't.
He needs to come in at the end of this lap.
Surely he hasn't forgotten. Surely he hasn't forgotten, because I've commentated on a race, a championship deciding race back in, I think, season 13, where there was someone leading with a massive point gap and then they lost the championship because they didn't do the 2-stop. So here we go then. Casper is going to come in into the pit lane. It's not come down hard enough, unfortunately. It's a shame, because he would have done so well. I think he would have got a podium, but sometimes you have to play that gamble, and that gamble didn't pay off for him. But Timo leads the way with Nicola Soro in P2. I don't think we're going to get the final scrap for the win as we would have hoped, but Casper is going to go on into, hoping that the rain will be a little bit more slipperier than usual. And Nick, by the way, has got ahead of Casper because of that, and he's up into 5th spot. And he's climbed up a lot of positions in this race. He's done a really great job on tyre management. I think that's what he's been good at on this game, is the tyre management.
Yeah, brilliant race from Nick. He went onto the hards, and it just seemed to pay off for him, really, there. But yeah, the rain didn't come down hard enough for some of these drivers, unfortunately. Casper probably going to drop behind Delta Hunter as well. He's just going to be too slow on those intermediates compared to the drivers on the softs. But Timo's played the strategy perfectly in this one. I thought it was a bit of a suicide call, if you think of it, because everyone else would have been on softs. He would have been on the mediums. He would have been slower through the corners, but he's played the cards perfectly. He has absolutely mastered the strategy as he's coming through the final Ravazza, and he's going to come to the line. He's moved to PC, and he's won his first race here in P1 this season. And Nicolo gets second. Brendan manages to get the podium that he missed out on in Qatar and get P3. But Timo, with the strategy of all strategies, wins the Grand Prix.
I have to say, I send my sincere apologies to Timo for saying, oh, the strategy wasn't good. I think he knew that he would be better on the mediums at the end. And personally, it may come down to personal preference. I think that's what we saw with Nick as well. Even though some people may fare better on the mediums, he fares better on the hards. And for Timo, he felt better by doing the soft stint in the middle. To be fair, he was on the same amount of pace as everyone else was, and was on soft. So I have to say, Timo, a great shout for driver of the day, but we got to decide that in just a moment. And Konzo, unfortunately, pitting onto the inters earlier on, did not work out, sadly. Same with Casper as well, what could have been for them, but it's going to be hard to choose driver of the day because everybody, I would say, in the top 6 has driven solid races. Fatality, by the way, who's had some offs in the sprint race, he's finished in 6th spot. That is an amazing achievement for him. Some solid points to add to his championship tally, and I think one of his best races in One Hub Racing, not gonna lie. And Delta getting some good points on the board as well. Some solid results all around, but Timo, what a great start to his PC campaign.
Yeah, brilliant from Timo there. Also good from Fatality, good from Nick. So many drivers capable of this Driver of the Day award. It's amazing to see how these drivers are able to just cope with the two-stop, and just overall making the way back up the order. If they had a horror like Nick and Fatality, they didn't really have the best sprint race, but made it up back through the order. But yeah, brilliant from Timo. He managed to play the cards right and won the Grand Prix. And Casper, unfortunately, tried sticking it out for the intermediates. Didn't work, unfortunately, for him.
Yes, let's run through your race order then. So Timo will be getting the full 20 points here this evening after a brilliant strategy call from him. And Nicolo in P2. Forza Brendan will finish in third on the podium. Callum in fourth. Nick from 9th to 5th. Surely he would be happy with his redemption in this one. Fatality from 10th to 6th. Delta Hunter from last to 7th. That's a good result for him. Casper gets the pass at that point inside the top 10. Matt in 9th. Colin Mason in 10th. And we've got Waitsy in 11th. Atsalok in 12th. I believe he gets the fastest lap point outside the top 10. Then we've got J. Cole in 13th. Lukey in 14th. And Konzo in 15th place. Everybody managed to finish this race, which was great to see. But now we have got to pick our drivers of the day. And to be honest, this week has probably been the hardest one ever, because there's been so many drivers that have performed really well. And we got to take how they perform from the sprint into the main race as well. But I'll let you pick first. Steve, who is your driver of the day and what would you like to ask the driver?
I'm going to go for Timo. He played the strategy right. And the question I would ask is, did you choose the strategy because you preferred the mediums in the middle stint compared to the softs? The softs in the middle stint compared to the mediums, and what was your whole plan around that strategy?
Not bad strategy at all, and not a bad question for him as well. I was going to pick Timo, so I've got to have an envious decision of picking the second driver of the day. I think you got to give it to a lot of people, but I think I'm torn between the mid-pack, the people who finish in P5, P6 and P7, but I've got to give it. I think the main reason for this decision is I have to give it to the driver who's picked up no penalties in that group, who started 9th in the sprint race, from the sprint race, and now he's finished in 5th in the main event. I'm going to have to give it to Nick, and my question is, I'm going to probably put it on the same lines as what you asked Timo. How were the hards for you, and did you think it was the right call in the end, and were you expecting to pick up a decent result in that front? So Timo and Nick are 2 drivers of the day nominations. You can vote on Twitter when the polls go out tomorrow as well. And by the way, so many other drivers could have got driver of the day. I think Fatality was definitely a close third there if we picked 3, but unfortunately I had to pick one that picked up less penalties there. But Steve, any final thoughts before I say about the sponsors and all the other stuff?
Well done to everyone. I mean, the strategies from Timo was amazing, and yeah, hopefully we have a good race next week where we head to, if I can find my driver's calendar in my notebook.
I've got.
We head to Hungary.
Hungary,
we head to Hungary. So yeah, that's going to be another interesting race. Strategy again will be very important, very hard to overtake again, and pretty much only one opportunity. So yeah, expect pretty much a similar sort of race as we had this time around, but with the full 50%. So it's going to be action-packed, and hopefully it will be just as entertaining as the past 2.
Yeah, I have to say, P1 has definitely delivered. I know we've had a bit of a low turnout today, but to be fair, that doesn't matter because it was quite a crazy event. So let's have a run through our sponsors once again. A massive shout out to Next Level Racing for sponsoring the league by providing the driver's champion of each tier a chance to win 2 amazing prizes, an FGT Elite Light Cockpit and Elite ES1 Sim Racing seat, and lots of other prizes including a ERS2 Sim Racing seat for the 2nd and 3rd place in the championship. Also, to Aztec Sim Sports, they're providing a Invicta Sim Racing boost to the driver with the shortest combined quality time, and also a t-shirt to the winner of the ERT Going Against Tough Award. Pure Sim Gear sponsors the league to pretty much give some gloves and socks to the driver with the most fastest laps and poles combined. Mystery Sim Box, they'll be giving away the mystery shirt box to the winner of One Hub Racing driver rankings. And also to our partners, Vespa Team, for providing merch for One Hub Racing in general and supporting our championship prizes. Also, Elite Racing Team ERT for sponsoring our trophies and partnering the ERT Going Gets Tough Award. And also to our partners at SimGrid, powered by SimGrid, by providing our community and platforms, the standings, and all that kind of stuff. So that is our sponsors. A big thank you to everybody for watching the stream today. We hope you enjoyed it. Like Steve was saying, we'll be at Hungary. We'll be on Twitch next week at 8 PM UK time, whereas P3 will be on Twitch as well. P2 will be on YouTube. For myself and Steve, take care, everybody. Stay safe. Have a good evening. And for now, we'll leave you with our race winner, Timo, to celebrate. Have a good evening, everybody, and good night.